Good evening again, and thank you so much for joining us for this information session on the Sprott College Primary Care Paramedic Program. My name is Lana Barrar, and I am the Vancouver Region Director for Sprott College. I'm also the Director of the East Vancouver campus, where the Primary Care Paramedic Program will be run, and your host for this evening. Tonight, you are going to learn about Sprott College. You will also have an opportunity to see our program overview and have an opportunity to ask those burning questions that you've been wondering about our program and Sprott College. If you do have questions, as I've said, please feel free to post them in the chat. We'll monitor them throughout the presentation this evening and ask as we go along. And then we will also have a Q&A session immediately at the end of the presentation. Joining me this evening, we have Keith Tyler, who is our program coordinator and subject matter expert. Keith, feel free to give a wave if you'd like. And we also have with us our lead admissions advisor for the program, Ashley Mallett. Thank you both for joining me this evening. For those of you who don't know, Sprott College is the oldest post-secondary institution in British Columbia. A major part of our continued success is our commitment to ensure that we evolve as the various industries develop and emerge. Earlier this year, we celebrated our 120th year of providing students with the highest quality education. Our purpose has always been enriching lives and bettering communities by training people today for the careers of tomorrow. It is with this purpose in mind that we are excited to launch our new Primary Care Paramedic Program. Primary Care Paramedic programs are approved by the Emergency Medical Assistance Licensing Board. This board is responsible for examining, registering, and licensing all emergency medical assistants in BC, including first responders. The Sprott Primary Care Paramedic Program has built in the new 2023 scope of practice required for all programs in the province. We are in the final stage of our review by the board, and due to Christmas break and the timing of this review, we have moved our program start date to April 29th, 2024. This is also going to allow an opportunity for many more of you to complete your registration in time and put your personal affairs in order so that you will be able to begin and start this program and change your life and your career path. I'm also very pleased to share with you that we're in the final stages of securing the equipment to outfit our lab. This lab will serve as the space where students will gain the hands-on training necessary to succeed in the field. Time and energy are being spent on ensuring it is the best in the province. And what I'd like to do now is show you some examples of our current nursing lab. Sprott College was the first training institution to offer practical nursing, and it offers a similar format with extensive hands-on training in a lab similar to what you will experience as a primary care paramedic student in our program. Here's some examples that I can share with you of our lab at East Vancouver, so you have an idea of what it will look like. So you can see that we have excellent equipment available for students. We have a setting that is very similar to what they would see while in the field. All of the equipment necessary and accessible for students to use while they're training in the program. And all of this has been approved by our governing body, just as it will be for the Primary Care Paramedic Program. So as I said, we are in the final stages of preparing that equipment, and we're also finalizing our new ambulances that you will get to use as students while training in the program. Next up, Keith Tyler will share with you our program overview. Keith was a paramedic for 15 years in the National Health Service in the United Kingdom. Since arriving in BC, also 15 years ago, he has concentrated on paramedic education, contributing to many current programs. He has spent time as an examiner for the provincial licensing body and published programs used to train first responders in Central Asia. Welcome, Keith. I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, Lana. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I'm going to take it as I am now experienced as opposed to just flaming old. But
yes.
we're going to go with the experience side of things.
I would agree with you.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So I fix people, not technology. So I'm going to share my screen now, and obviously that's going to go completely wrong. So can we see my screen? Excellent. I've got a thumbs up, so that's good. So welcome everybody that's joining us from wherever you're joining us from. I'm coming to you from the unceded territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, the Musqueam and the Coast Salish people. I'm very grateful that I am able to live, work and play on their territories, and I thank them for their stewardship of it. What I would like to do this evening is just briefly take you through a little bit of what it's like to be a paramedic, and then, as Lana said, the overview of our program and what you can expect as you go through. It is the season to be jolly, and last night I was out at a Christmas party with a number of my colleagues, and not one to miss an opportunity, I picked on everybody to go, hey, what's it like to be a paramedic? What makes it work for you? And there was a number of different answers that came up. Being a paramedic, you're an expert a mile wide and an inch deep. If you think about it, you can't turn up to a situation and go, oh, I didn't learn about that one, so we can't do anything about it. So we have to know, at least have an appreciation of everything. But in often cases, we know it, that deep. Some bits we know a little bit deeper because we do them more often, but we have an idea about everything. We've swapped the model around probably about 20 years ago now, when ambulances were initially envisaged, way back in the Roman ages. They were an object for taking people to doctors or patient to the emergency department. We changed that many years ago now. We actually bring the emergency department to the patient. So we bring you the care that you need. It may be that you need follow-on care in the emergency department, but we're starting that care where the patient happens to be. Someone pointed out that we do medical things, which was a really technical term, but we do medical things in dynamic situations. Lana's alluded to the nursing program at Spotshaw, and a lot of the things we do are incredibly similar to the nursing program. The difference being is that the nursing program does them in hospitals and clinics and things like that. We do them wherever people happen to be. If you're up on the grouse grind and you have your cardiac chest pain, we deal with your cardiac chest pain on the grouse grind. And then when we get down, we deal with my cardiac chest pain because I've had to go up the grouse grind. But we get there one way or the other. But I think all of us agreed yesterday that it is simultaneously both the most rewarding role that we've ever done, but also the most frustrating. There are times where you will know what the patient needs, but you're just not able to provide it, whether that's because of regulations, training, accessibility, or whatever it is. But also you're there for some of the most rewarding times. There is more than one little baby Keith out there that was there, and he's a baby Keith because I helped deliver them, not anything else. So it is a great job, and as Lana's pointed out, I've been doing it for 30 years now, so I must be getting to like it. What's it like being a paramedic? Well, that depends on what type of paramedic you are and where you want to go. If you want to work in the 911 system, so you're an ambulance system, you're probably doing a 12-hour shift. You're doing a mixture of days and nights, and you're going to work on a huge variety of patients because you're going to do whatever comes in that 911 queue. So you're going to see different things, and you're going to do those different things in those dynamic situations. Maybe you're somebody that wants to go down the industry route. If you're a paramedic in industry, you're normally attached to a location or a site. Quite often these are remote camps, so you'll do a week or weeks in and then weeks out, 2 in, 2 out, 3 in, 3 out, something like that. So you'll be there, you'll be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week while you're there, and you're going to deal with whatever comes your way from that. those tend to be more on the injury side of things, but obviously medical problems do happen as well. And you're often involved in a lot of the safety aspects around the site as well. So there's quite often a lot of cross training with occupational safety and health and those kind of things. Alternatively, you might be somebody who's big into the events. You like doing the mass crowd events, the big events. You like doing the arenas, the stadiums, and those kind of things. So if that's your jam, you're probably more likely to be working evenings and weekends, because that's when those events happen. You're going to be working in some very confined spaces. You're going to be working with some very tight rules and regulations, and you're going to be working in a situation where you're going to see a lot of different things. Probably more medical than trauma in those situations, but again, you're going to be involved in the safety aspect of things. So there's a lot of different ways that you can spin your paramedic career. A little bit of the landscape. Lana alluded to it earlier that here in BC, we are regulated by the Emergency Medical Assistance Licensing Board. But above that, even still on a national scale, we work to something called the National Occupational Competency Profile. So there is a national organization, the Paramedic Association of Canada, and they recognize the 4 different levels of paramedic: emergency medical responder, primary care paramedic, advanced care paramedic, and critical care paramedic, and they decide what you should be able to do at all those different levels, what you should understand, what you can do, and those kind of things. At a provincial level, the EMA takes that list and they funnel it into a scope of practice of what we're actually allowed to do, what medications we can give, what procedures we can do. And then finally, we go out and we get somebody to pay us to do this, and that employer might have some further restrictions. They might say, yes, you can do this, but we're using this particular equipment because that's what we supply you with. So I think of it it's not dissimilar from a driving license from that perspective. There's a national idea of what a driver is. There's a provincial regulator, or with your driving license, and then your employer tells you what you can do with a company car. It flows very much like that. On the right hand side here, that's just a little sort of diagrammatic list of what we do here in British Columbia. So you see everything builds on, and as Lana alluded to earlier, we also have first responders that are licensed here in British Columbia. So first responder is that initial life, that base level. They're there to save lives and prevent deterioration. Emergency medical responders do everything that first responders do, plus a bit more, including transporting to hospital. Primary care paramedics, which is the bulk of the paramedics in the province, they do more than emergency medical responders can do. We still transport patients, but we can give a lot more medications. We can do a lot more interventions. Above us, advanced care paramedics and critical care paramedics. Advanced care paramedics bring some very specialized skills to some very specialized situations. Critical care paramedics, particularly here in British Columbia, normally specialize in transport medicine. So bringing people from remote parts of the province down to the bigger tertiary centers here in the lower mainland. So you can see how everything we do builds on what came before. The primary care paramedic being that stabilizing part in the middle of the sandwich. So what we'll do, we'll have a look at our course. We'll do a little bit of an overview. I'm going to talk about the bits that you're going to do in the classroom, the placements that you're going to go on, the career preparation that you're going to get, and then we'll have a time to answer questions afterwards. Lana's going to keep me on track with time. She's going to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down to make sure that I'm not going on too much. So there's our course. The program itself is split into a number of different courses. We're going to have a look at all of them just to give you an idea of what's going on. But really and truly, there's the career courses, there's the classroom courses, and there's the placement courses. Okay. So let's have a look at our classroom courses to start with, when you're actually learning we were very creative when we came to naming them. They're paramedic courses, so we started them all with para, because that's how, we wanted to make it complicated for people. So Para 101 and 102. So these courses run concurrently with one another, and you'll notice that throughout we've kept the days deliberately short. You're never doing more than 6 hours a day on campus. That's deliberate. That's good educational theory, because we know that by the time we get later on in the afternoon, our ability to absorb information deteriorates. But also we understand your commitment, your other, you've got to travel, you've got to do other things with your life, and there is homework on top of this. Don't get the idea that you're getting away with 6 hours a day. It's a 9-hour day, but only 6 of those are in the classroom. So Para 101, anatomy and physiology. I think it's fair to say you can't fix it if you don't know how it works, and you don't know how it's supposed to be put together. So we're going to run that over a number of weeks, and then so that will run in the mornings, and then in the afternoons we're going to focus on the technical skills. Everybody likes playing with the toys. Okay, that's and the idea with this course is we're going to teach you the technical skills right from the beginning. And then as you learn more information, you can incorporate those technical skills as you go through. So great, you've learned how to do the IV, you've learned how to do the ECG, you've learned how to do the airway management. You can fine tune those motor skills or those technical skills so that you've got capacity later on to include all the other pieces, which is the why am I doing it, when am I doing it, how is it beneficial to the patient. So over this initial period, you're going to discover what's normal about the human body, and what's normal about working with the equipment, how the equipment works, and all of those kind of things. After that, we're going to move on to Para 103 and Para 104. So Para 103 is pharmacology. I've mentioned that as paramedics, we can give a wide variety of drugs. It's particularly wide because it's not the particular drug we can give. We can give classes of drugs, and we can give them by routes. So there's a lot of possibilities within those categories. So we're going to learn how drugs work on our body. We're going to learn what drugs are available to us, and we're going to also learn how the body deals with those drugs. Okay. In the afternoons, we're going to look at the non-technical skills, and this is where we start to get into some of the uniqueness of the Sprott Shaw. Every course out there, every paramedic course out there teaches you how to do IVs. They teach you how to do ECGs. Everybody teaches you how the human body works. Everybody talks about the drugs you can give, because those are legal things we have to do. We do them better, but they're legal things that have to be done. These non-technical skills, this is where we really start to see the difference. Communication, patient advocacy, legal and ethical issues, Indigenous patient care, minority groups, all of those things are going to be included. So many of you will have probably heard the term trauma-informed practice. We're going to be one of the few programs that's actually teaching trauma-informed practice. So how people's experiences and their lives up till now impact both their physical and their mental health. So definitely a 21st century approach to an ongoing problem. So typically, you're going to be on 6 hours a day as we go through. So you can see there just what the week will look like. We're going to do what's known as high frequency, low stakes testing. So you're going to, for those of you that got test anxiety, don't worry, we can help you with that. But essentially, you're going to get a low stakes test every week. So you're going to learn some stuff on Monday and Tuesday. You're going to get Wednesday to practice it. And then Thursday, Thursday we'll do a little evaluation to make sure they're there. And then Friday, we're going to do a simulation. And the difference between evaluation and simulation, evaluation is as it sounds. We're checking to make sure you can do the things we taught you to do. Simulation is where we explore the things we taught you to do. So why does, mistakes happen? Mistakes are always going to happen. They've been happening since the dawn of time. We investigate why they happen, and then we work through systems and processes so that we can deal with them and not have them happen again. We discover, Lana's talked about using ambulances. it's one thing to do it in the classroom. It's another thing to do exactly the same skill and having to load the patient into the ambulance. And this is those simulations where we're going to get to practice all those things. So you'll take those nice skills that you solidified in the classroom and you're going to take them to a practical environment. It's that integration of skills and knowledge. Power 202, this is where we start to look at complex conditions. So we've looked at some of the basic conditions, all those classic presentations. Now we're going to look at complex things. So we're going to look at palliative care. We're going to look at multi-system diseases. We're going to look at cancers. We're going to all of those where things just become a little more complicated. Cardiac problem was pretty straightforward. Now it's a cardiac problem, but there's other things that are impacting it because we know that human beings have multiple problems. It's great when the exam says, oh, this person's got one thing wrong. What are you going to do to fix them? But in the real world, people don't come with one thing wrong. They come with one thing that's bothering them now, two things that they've had for a few weeks, and something that's been underlying for years. And we need to figure out how we're going to integrate all of those things. (203). So we're now looking at some really classic conditions, and also but we're looking at those classic conditions with special populations. So people that have got mobility problems, people that have got cognitive delays, people that have got other problems, which just mean that they're not able to compensate the way that you or I would. We'll start off very simple, and then as we move through these programs, we get to more and more complex cases. This is the one I'm really looking forward to. So Power 204 is, although it's technically considered a classroom course, the bit that I'm really looking forward to is it's out of the classroom. This is where we go out into the big wide world. Not sure if the big wide world's ready for us, but we're coming anyway. Where we're going to do all the same things that we did in Power 201, Power 202, Power 203. We're going to look at those classic cases. We're going to look at those complex conditions, but we're actually going to do them in a supervised field environment. So we'll go out to parks, we'll go out onto the transit system, we'll go out to shopping malls or wherever it is, because that's where we've done it in the classroom. We now want to do it in a real environment where there are distractions, where there's noise, where there's weather that we can't control, because that changes how we approach these things. We're still going to do the same treatments, but we may do them in a different order, we may do them in a different place, so we get there. So that's our classroom courses, and as you can see from the graphic there, they're separated out, and they're separated out by these placement courses. Okay, because there's no point us just sitting in a classroom for 52 weeks and talking about everything. We've actually got to experience things as well. So pretty much evenly split throughout the program, we have 5 placements where you're going to go out and you're going to perform those skills, you're going to perform those assessments, and you're going to do those with real people in real situations. Power 199 is the first one. It comes at the end of that technical skills course that I was talking about. And the goal is for you to practice and cement the technical skills that you've learned. You're going to go out on an ambulance. You're going to spend 4 shifts, which is 48 hours. There's going to be the regular crew of the ambulance will be there. You're going to be extra. And your job is to be there. Your job is to be their hands. So when they say they need an IV started, you start the IV. They need an ECG. You set up the ECG. It's a competency-based period where you can actually prove that you can do all of these things on patients that need them, and it gives you a chance to experience that ambulance environment. What's it like to be doing things in those dynamic environments? What's it like to actually be doing these things at 3 o'clock in the morning versus 3 o'clock in the afternoon? And it gives you an opportunity to experience how the ambulance service works. Power 296, this comes after Power 201, so it's after those initial classic clinical cases. Again, it's 48 hours, it's 4 shifts. But this time, instead of the focus being on the technical skills, the focus is on the clinical interpretation. It's on the decision making. So somebody else is giving you the information, they're passing it to you, you're filtering through it, and you're coming up with a decision that somebody else is then ratifying for you. These might happen on an ambulance, or they might happen in an emergent or an urgent care setting. But either way, you're there to practice making decisions. 297. So 297 is a is a practicum as opposed to a precepting. So precepting, you are supervised, you are there to achieve things. Practicum, you're still supervised, but you're there to experience things. You can do things as well. That's not a problem, but that's not our primary goal. Our primary goal is for you to experience things. So again, 48 hours, 4 shifts. And these are going to be based in alternate care areas. So this is, again, an area where SpotSure is differentiated from other organizations, because we're not just putting you in an ambulance environment, because paramedics work in more environments now, and we do more things. So looking at what's the difference between an emergency room and an urgent care center, what can they do differently? How is long-term care different from urgent care? So long-term care, where they're providing care over days, weeks, months, lifespans. And this gives you an opportunity to experience those different environments and just understand what different parts of the healthcare system can do. And therefore, as a paramedic, how we can best serve our clients by getting them to the right place at the right time. If anybody has been listening to anything recently, you'll know that mental health is a big focus in healthcare. Historically, it is something that paramedics have had they've had lots of exposure to, they've had little training on. We definitely wanted to address that, which is why we've got a whole practicum given over to experiencing people with mental health problems. So you're going to spend 48 hours, 4 shifts. You're going to spend those in environments where people often present with mental health problems. Now, it may not be that the mental health problem is what's causing them to turn up, but they've got an underlying mental health condition. Or maybe it is. Maybe they're having an exacerbation of their existing mental health problems. But you're going to be there. You're going to see how the communication has to change, where our trauma-informed approach comes in for making sure that we get patients the right care the first time, and just generally understanding, again, how the wider healthcare system works, and understanding that an emergency room is not necessarily the solution to everything that you're presented with. Having got all this experience, and once you've finished at the end of the course, right at the end of the course, you're going to go back out on an ambulance. You're going to spend 96 hours this time, so it's going to be 8 shifts. And this is where you are running the show. You're still going to have 2 paramedics with you, so that you're there, you're supported, you've got a safety net, but really you're doing the assessments, you're making the decisions, you're coming up with the plan, and you're executing that plan with their assistance. So this is all about managing your resources, making sure that you're using people appropriately, and we're getting a patient-focused outcome. So we're conversing with the patient, we're getting to grips with what's wrong in their situation, we're coming up with a plan, and we're helping everybody execute it. And during this time, you're getting things that you need to demonstrate a competency in. So if you need to demonstrate a competency in communication, this is how you're going to demonstrate it. If you need to demonstrate you're competent in understanding endocrine problems, then you're going to see patients with endocrine problems, and you're going to demonstrate that you understand them. And that's where you're going to get all of this, where you're going to bring all of that knowledge together. Last but by no means least, the course is bookended by our career preparation courses. So right at the beginning, Para 101, we're going to ease you in gently, only 4 hours a day to start with. This will be your orientation to the campus. We're going to talk about financial planning. We're going to talk a lot about your portfolio. Your portfolio is how you demonstrate your worth as a paramedic. It's how you demonstrate that you've learned and you've seen and you've dealt with all of the conditions that that national body says that we should be able to understand. So you're going to keep a record of that. You're going to start your portfolio, and then that portfolio is going to follow you for the rest of your career. And every time you go to a new employer, or every time you go for licensing or whatever it is, you're going to present that portfolio as a, hey, this is what I've done. This is why this is how I've done it. This is why I'm good at it. So in that preparation week, we'll get all of those things lined up. Once you've done all of your practicums, you've demonstrated, you've got your portfolio nicely completed, and we've looked at all those competencies. We're going to prepare you for the exam. Remember, I mentioned before, very much like a driving license. Think of us as the driving school. You're still going to go to the government to get your actual license. In this case, it's going to be EMALB. There's a couple of stages to it. There's the COPPA, or the Canadian Organization of Paramedic Regulators. We love our acronyms. There's going to be lots of acronyms. The Canadian Organization of Paramedic Regulators, that's going to be your written exam. That's a national exam that PCPs write. And then EMALB, you're going to do a practical exam. So we're going to spend some time preparing you for that, because that seems like a reasonable thing to do. We've taught you how to do things, but now we're going to prepare you for the exam. How things are going to come at you in the exam, how the exam's formatted, the do's and don'ts, all those tips and tricks that you pick up over 30 years of making sure that you're successful the first time, because that's our goal. We want you to be successful. And then once you're successful, we also want you to get employed. We're assuming that you're doing, if you're doing this just for fun, wonderful. We love to have you, and it's great. But we're assuming that most of you are thinking about making a career out of this. So we're going to spend some time with you, how to build your resume, how to build your application, how to do interviews. What is it that employers are looking for in paramedics? How can we be successful in those roles? And how can we make sure that you land the job that you want the first time? One of the great things about SpotSure is we've got a large number of people who help you through that process. This is step one of us helping you, is making sure that you're prepared. We did that one, didn't I? There we go. So there's our course spread out. And then, as you can see, it's, we've got the bookends. So we've got the career preparation, classroom, some practice, some classroom, some practice, classroom practice, classroom practice, and so it goes on. So that's how we're going to prepare you for what goes on. That was, a fairly rapid summary, but and I appreciate that many of you have had to translate, as I've been talking. So thank you for that. Lana, do we have questions?
We don't have any questions yet in the chat, Keith, but one thing I thought I would do just while we're waiting to see if questions come through is I understand that my photos of the lab did not work. So I'm going to give that a shot again and see if I can once again share my screen and hopefully show some students or some attendees tonight the types of labs that we set up on campus. So let me give that a shot.
Awesome.
And we'll see if some questions come in. How's that? Are we able to see that now? I get a thumbs up. Thanks, Keith. So just as we're waiting, here's some examples now of the labs that we set up on campus for the programs, as I said, that really focus on hands-on training. You can see all of the equipment that we provide. Again, that it provides students with a real life example of what they will face while in facility, and gives them a very well-rounded experience while training and learning in their program. There we go. It worked this time. Good old technology, but we always find a way to make it work. So let me just see, any questions yet? Not yet. Just a few more things that I'll cover about the program that Keith so thankfully touched on. The program at Sprott Shaw College is really set apart from other programs that you will see out there. As Keith mentioned, we are focused on including learning in cultural awareness, communication, patient advocacy, legal and ethical awareness, as well as the addition of the mental health practicum, which I think is so very necessary and relevant to today that it's great we're able to provide students with that additional learning and preparation for entry into the field. Any questions from anyone? Doesn't look like it.
While people are still thinking, they're probably still getting over the speed of which I talk at.
It's quite possible. Keith. I made you go quickly.
Yeah, maybe I can just give a little bit of an idea. So when we get into the classroom component, we're very much focused around small group work. We're not talking about big classroom lectures and all those kind of things. Most times you're going to be working in groups of 3 or 4. It's going to be very group based, so that you can so that you actually get the chance to experience. So we want you to do things. It's also going to be very hands on. So we'll, when we learn about a condition, let's learn about chest pain. We'll learn about cardiac chest pain and those kind of things. Then we'll go and practice some scenarios. So there's going to be a lot of scenario work involved in this. Sprott Shaw have been fantastic in the purchase of the equipment. It's going, I'm really, really thrilled about some of the equipment that we're getting. It is, it's definitely, some of the cutting edge equipment where we're going to be able to, simulate different situations and different patient presentations. But we'll be able to practice those things, and we'll be able to go, what works, what doesn't work. Why is it working? Why is it not working? And we'll be able to investigate it in those small groups as opposed to in big classroom settings. The good news for that is we know from an educational perspective that that's really good learning. That's really good learner-centered education. The bad news is it means you do need to be involved as a learner. Okay, there's no hiding in the back. There's no hiding in the shadows and being quiet and not asking questions. It's like, no, everybody's going to be involved. We're going to give you lots of opportunities to do things, and our job is to make sure that you make the most of those opportunities.
Thank you for adding that, Keith. I do think it's really important that prospective students understand the learning environment that they'll be in. And having those small class sizes really helps them to get the support that they need in a program like this, and also to get additional knowledge and learning while they're in the classroom. It looks like we have some hands up. I'm just wondering if people are able to put the question in the chat. Or if not, if you feel comfortable, you could even unmute yourself and ask your question. Maybe that will work. I have some of my assistants helping me. Looks like Fred, do you have a question? I believe you're unmuted.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Thanks a lot. I just wanted to prompt that the chat is disabled. We can't post anything there. That's why you're not getting feedback.
Thank you.
That would be a technical problem.
It would. I'll see if our tech team can fix that. If not, we'll just go live and you can ask your questions. Thank you for that, Fred. Boone, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Yes, I have questions about what the job market is like afterwards, how difficult it is to find a job posting, things like that.
Okay. With the usual caveat of I am not in charge of hiring anybody, it will not come as a surprise to anybody that paramedics are in high demand at the moment. BC Ambulance, or BC Emergency Health Services is looking to employ at least 1,000 people a year for the next 3 years. Considering that the combined output of all the other schools combined is about 300. you can see it doesn't take a mathematical genius to work out that there's a gap there. So the market is actually quite good for paramedics at the moment. I'm not as au fait with the event world. Industry is always looking. The life cycle of an industry paramedic is normally relatively short. It's normally in that 3 to 5 year range. The money is very good, but you are working in some quite austere environments for that. So a lot of people do it for a few years and then move into other forms of medicine. But yeah, the employment prospects at the moment in BC, I would say, are pretty good.
Great. Another thing to add too is that all of our campuses have an employment services specialist. And as Keith pointed out, this is where the career planning course that's bookended is really beneficial. It's going to create your portfolio. It's going to allow to prepare you for entering the workforce. And then the employment services specialist will work with students one-on-one, as will our program coordinators and instructors in assisting students with finding those employment prospects. Great question, Boone. Thank you. Next up, we have Tracy. Tracy looks like she is muted. I'll see if our team can unmute her, and then I'll come back. Next up, we have Claire. It looks like maybe the chat is working now. So if you'd like, you can also alternatively post your question in the chat.
I think, can you hear me now?
Ah, Claire, there we go. Good.
Okay.
Thank you all for your patience tonight.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out on my computer for the last 10 minutes how to ask questions. There's an error on my end.
Sorry about that, Claire.
Yeah, I just had some questions actually. I've been working industrial myself in Alberta, and I'm an EMR at the moment. I'm looking at getting onto the PCP, but I'm just curious whether there's still regulations regarding the COVID-19 vaccine in BC, whether it's still a requirement for you to have that to do the Spore College course, or if there's things that have changed on that, because I know Alberta, they have slightly different regulations on that. So I'm just wondering from your perspective what the rules are in regarding that.
Keith, did you want to answer that? Or
yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll go for that. I can go for that one. So the answer is yes. So as far as the course is concerned, in order to complete the placements, there is all the health authorities still have a requirement to be COVID vaccinated. So in order to be able to complete the course, yes, you do need to be COVID vaccinated.
Just a question then. If I was to do the practicums in Alberta, is that still a possibility to do the program and then just do the practicums in Alberta, or is that really not the situation?
That's something we would have to take offline and discuss. We don't have arrangements in Alberta to do practicums.
Right.
So there would be a lot of work on your end to get a lot of things organized.
Yeah, no, I understand
but that. I don't want to say no, but I'm going to say difficult.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know it's not like the easy option, that's for sure. Okay, well, I appreciate that. I just wanted to find out as well, that, because like I said, I've been working industry for a while, and I've been working as an EMR, and so I can get my license in both, but I want to go up the levels. But yeah, obviously there's quite a lot of controversy with that side of things.
Yeah. Thank you for that question.
No worries.
We have Supatra, I do hope I've pronounced that correctly, asking if we need to learn stitches.
No, you won't learn stitches. You will learn wound closure, and there's a number of other techniques, but the way the regulations work, stitches, or the technical name sutures, That is an ACP skill, ACP and above here in British Columbia. So no, you'll learn everything up to stitches.
Great. Another question, we wanted to ask your thoughts on the OFA3 training course and whether that helps us prepare for paramedicine.
The short answer is yes. You know, any experience that you've got before you come in is always good experience. You know, from that perspective. The downside, because there's always pros and cons to everything. The downside is the OFA3 course is very regimented, and it's designed that way. It's designed so that when you go into any first aid room in any employer in the province of British Columbia, everything's the same. The terminology is the same, the equipment's the same, the layout's the same, and all those kind of things, which is great. But when we come to paramedicine, it's back to that working in dynamic environments again. So whereas WorkSafe has a way of doing things, which is a perfectly acceptable way, in paramedicine, you're going to learn 4 or 5 ways of doing things, and you're going to have to pick which one suits the situation you're in. So yes, it's a, you know, all experience is good experience, but you know, it's not going to magically make you a better paramedic, or it's not going to suddenly make things easier for you. In some cases, it might even make it a little harder.
Great. Thank you for that, Keith. Next up, could you show the Para 202 slide again? I think you happen. You've done that. Great, good. Hopefully, Danielle, you can see that. And that answers your question. If you have another question after taking a look at the slide, please post that. We have Fred asking what the average costs are. I think maybe best for you to meet with Ashley if you're interested in discussing the program further. Ashley, anything you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Fred. It would be great maybe to set up a phone call later this week. I do believe I sent you an email possibly already in regards to this. And inquire for some information. We can have a quick phone call just to discuss funding, options, scholarships that are available, everything like that.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. Also, we've put a link in chat in case you haven't applied for the program already and are interested. I'll have my team post again, so you don't need to scroll through the chat to find that link, but that's another great way to connect with Ashley as well. Renee, how much time are we taking to finish the PCP program? Well, I can answer that question, Renee. So our PCP program is 52 weeks in length. It is just over 1,200 instructional hours and just about 300 practice education hours. So right about a year. And we all know how quickly a year goes by. So you could be start and finished in no time. Kim, do we have to have an EMR certificate to enter the program? That's a great question. Keith, I'll turn it over to you.
And the answer to that is no, you do not.
Excellent. That was an easy one.
That was an easy one. I knocked that one out of the park. EMR is a subset of primary care paramedic. So we cover all the things in primary care paramedic that would be covered in EMR anyway, and we cover them to more detail. It seems pointless to us to make you to go through it twice, you know, to learn it at the 50% level and then have to come in and learn the other 50%. We can just teach you the 100% to start with. So no, you don't need EMR before coming to us. But again, any experience is good experience.
Great. So you could even start faster. You don't have to take the time to take EMR before entering our program, which is another advantage and a really great one. Manel, I see that you had a similar question, just asking if it's a disadvantage and how it works. I hope Keith answered that. If not, if you have a follow-up to that, do post it. Fred, could you please comment on the average cost of the program? We've already answered that. Best to connect with Ashley. And then we have another question here. I'm from India, but moved to BC more than 10 years ago. So basically English is my second language, but I'm good in English. Do you think I will be getting some communication issues while at the job? I might start this, Keith, and then you could take it from there. From my perspective as a director, anytime an international student enters one of our programs, as long as they meet the English entrance requirements, those are set based on the understanding of the communication level that would be required to be successful in the program. So if you're able to meet those entrance requirements, I feel that there would be no challenge with you being able to communicate while at the job. Keith, anything to add?
From my perspective, from a working perspective, anybody that speaks more than one language is already a step ahead on me.
Great point.
And not just because they can speak another language, but just because you understand the difficulties of communicating in a second or third language. And that makes you really great empathic communicators.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not speaking the same language as somebody else, the fact that you understand the struggles that they're having is a huge benefit when it comes to that interpersonal communication. So I would actually see that as an asset more than anything else.
Yeah, that's a great point, Keith. Thank you for adding that. I didn't think of that myself, but it's so true. Someone else with an EMR certificate as a prereq, but I think we've already touched on that. I just want to make sure I don't miss anyone's question or they feel left out. Next up, if I already have a paramedic certificate from my country, does it have any value here?
And the answer to that is a very definite maybe. So what you would need to do is you would need to approach the Emergency Medical Assistance Licensing Board, the EMALB, and say, hey, I've got my certificate from wherever I'm from, and they would do what they call a gap analysis, and they would either match it to an existing level here in BC, at which point you could challenge the exams, or they would say, these are where the differences are, this is what you need to work on. When you've done that, come back and see us. So, depending on where you're from, that's a definite maybe. There is a website, International Paramedic. I can't remember if it's .ca or .com, but it might be a starting place. It does a little bit of mapping work that says, that shows equivalencies and those kind of things.
Great. A really great question from Tracy actually is, when doing a written test, do we need to pass 80%? And if we don't, do we have a second chance to get to pass?
No, one opportunity and then we cut. No.
No. Remember, we're supportive.
Of course you do. And in fact, we and if you think that that's going to be a problem, we have standardized testing, we have written tests, practical tests, as I say, we do them on that. We do that on that high frequency, low stakes. So if you get another chance, absolutely. But you also get a chance to, it's like, is there another way you want to demonstrate your knowledge? Perhaps perhaps you're one of these people that just really doesn't like tests for whatever reason. You don't like people watching you or whatever it is, but you can demonstrate your competence in some other way. Then we will work with you to use that way. It's called universal design for learning, but we will figure that out. So for example, you've got to carry a patient, two of you have got to carry a patient upstairs on a chair. Okay, it's just one of those things that has to be done. But every time somebody watches you, you get that little palpitation going and you trip over your own 2 feet and it all goes horribly wrong. Well, just video yourselves doing it and then submit the video to us. We'll work it out beforehand. It's not just a random thing. You'll work it out beforehand, submit the video to us. We can see that you've done the skill. We know you're competent in it. That's the important point. It's a competency-based piece, not a can I get a tick in the box piece.
Great, thank you, Keith. Another great question, what does a PCP actually do? Do they need to inject drugs?
Yeah, so what does a PCP actually do? Well, that's a great question, and it'll only take us a year to teach you it all. So, yes, we do inject medications. We provide emergency care and transportation to the sick and the injured. So that involves everything from stopping bleeding, splinting fractures, providing medications. We do assessments. We'll do diagnostic testing. We'll confer with other medical professionals to make sure that we're getting you to the right place. We'll make decisions about where you need to go. Some people will need to go to hospital A, some people can go to hospital B, and that'll be based on what we think is wrong and what facilities are provided at those. As I say, transport's a big piece, so there's a lot of lifting and carrying involved, both of equipment but also of patients. And there's a lot of those non-technical skills, that interpersonal stuff. There's a lot of being nice to people and reassuring them that there's help, that help is there and that's what it's for. So lots of it's a wide range of skills.
Great. Oh, it looks like someone wants to do the reverse of what you did. Is the qualification transferable to the UK, or would I have to do ACP to make it transferable?
Okay, sad news. The answer is no. The UK is in a different place to where Canada is at the moment. It is very difficult to transfer from Canada to the UK without doing a considerable amount of update training. Even ACP would have trouble transferring to the UK.
Great.
Well, it's not, but it's a
well, it's not, but it's the answer.
It's the answer. It's just not the one that anybody wants to hear.
No. But we have, such high demand in BC that, the benefit is really staying here as well after taking the program. Could I apply to enter your school without being in your country and then be able to process my study permit? Great question. We do have international students that have already registered for the program. We have a dedicated international student administration office or advisor office. And what I'll do is I will post the phone number in the chat so that if anyone is an international student on the line tonight, you'll have access to be able to reach out to that team for support in the application process. Do we need uniforms during practice? You want to touch on the uniforms and some of the equipment that they will receive in the program?
And the answer is yes, absolutely. You're going to work in uniform. You're going to do your placements in uniform. So yeah, you're going to practice in uniform. So part of the course will supply you with the uniform. It will discreetly say that you are a paramedic student. So that when you're out on those placements, everybody knows what's going on, so that everybody's informed for what's happening there. And yeah, we're going to do everything in uniform. We're going to practice the way that we're going to play. So whenever you're doing an activity or a skill, you're going to do it in uniform, so that when you go to do it for a real person, the uniform is not an issue for you.
Great. Just as Keith said, the program teaches you the hands-on learning. Students will walk the walk and talk the talk, all while they're here in the program. And part of that is looking the part. I, for one, again, just to put an example to our practical nursing students, seeing them in here in scrubs and prepared to go out there for their clinical the way they would in employment is always lovely to see. So, and it makes it more real for the students, I think, too. Is the program starting in April next year? Yes, it is. Our start date is April 29th, 2024. It will be at our East Vancouver campus, so we are very excited about that. And as I said, the link to apply is in chat, or will be in chat. I might just add it again myself in there if you are interested. Let me just post that. Do you offer the course in Kelowna as well? Not yet, Claire, but other campuses and locations will be coming. Right now, we're launching the program in Vancouver. This will be our first start date on April 29th. And then you can look forward to future start dates at other locations coming soon. Oh, looks like we have another question. These questions are great. Thank you so much, everyone. It's benefiting everyone on the line today. Can you please explain once what are the specific requirements other than math and biology? Ashley, would you like to answer that question? Give Keith a little break.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Thank
what we
you.
would be looking for is transcript showing that you meet the English 12 requirement, Math 11 foundations, and Biology 12. We will also accept any some equivalencies if you've done them in other post-secondary institutions. We also do have our upgrading that students can participate in prior to the start date of the PCP program, the paramedic program. So there's many options to make sure that students meet those academic requirements prior to those start dates.
Great, thank you for that. Another great question, considering the stressful conditions of the job, is there a part of the course that deals with stress management?
I guess that's coming my way again.
It was going to. I like that I just passed the ball and you take it.
The answer is yes, absolutely. Both right at the beginning. So that Power 001, that initial orientation piece, that we have some stress management pieces in there, and then a large part of that Power 104, that non-technical skills course, that has a lot involved in dealing with stress management, knowing yourself, understanding yourself, what the downsides of working shift work and how to deal with those. The trauma-informed practice for use not only with our patients but with our loved ones, our friends, our colleagues, and just how to maintain a working life harmony. I'm not going to call it balance, because depending on where you are in your life, different things happen, but you've got to have harmony between work and other things you do. And yes, we do look at that as part of that course.
Great. Effective self-care is really critical when taking a course or a program like this. It's also really critical once you are out there in the working environment. So it's great that the program includes that. And I'll also touch on, that this is really top of mind for Sprott Chalk College in relation to supporting our students. And another service that all students have access to completely free of charge and anonymously is direct access to My TELUS Health. It's a program that we believe in, that we feel wholeheartedly that students need access to, especially when they're in school and they're dealing with the stressors of life, in addition to the programs that they're taking. So it's great to be able to offer that to our students. When does the course end? So the program will start on April 29th, 2024, and it's 52 weeks. So right at the end of April of 2025, and you'll be done. Any other?
April 26th, 2025 will be
the exact date.
Is the exact date, yes.
I love it when we can be exact. Thank you for that. Could you tell me the class schedule, please? So it is a daytime program. The classes will start at 8:30 in the morning. And as Keith said, the maximum length that you'll be on campus would be a 6-hour day. Any other questions? Keith, anything else you'd like to add as we're waiting to see if there's any last minute lingering questions?
No, other than to say, if for anybody that thinks of anything immediately after we hang up or anything like that, getting in touch with Ashley. If Ashley doesn't know the answer, She's really good at getting hold of me. And if I don't know the answer, I know a lot of people that do. So between the three of us, we've got it covered.
That's so great. Oh, is there affordable housing in the area close to the college? We can discuss that, or Ashley can discuss that with you when you meet with her regarding the program. We also are owned by our parent company, which is CIBT, and they have a lot of student housing in the area as well. So that may be another option that's available to students. Alrighty, I'm going to post the apply now one more time in the chat for anyone who missed it. As Keith said, the best way to get some additional program information is to reach out to Ashley. And to do that, you can click on that link and we'll directly connect you with her. Thank you again for joining us this evening. As you've heard, Sprott Shaw is a recognized leader in bridging the gap between the learning and the working sector. Our primary care paramedic program bridges these gaps and sets up our students for success. Local employers regard Sprott Shaw graduates as being highly skilled and able to fulfill sought-after roles in today's challenging job market. And you also heard from Keith the demands that are out there from employers who are actively seeking primary care paramedics. By becoming a Sprott Shaw student, you will not only have made the right investment in your education, but also have ensured that your credentials will stand the test of time. Again, if you're interested in receiving more information, please click on the link and you'll be connected with Ashley. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Be well and good night.